And I can speak from experience because I've had several businesses that have failed, at least in tradition. I learned a ton from every one, but I have several solid failures under my belt that I can report in on. But before I do, Joshua Schaffer, I know you've had no failures in your life.
None whatsoever. I'm just
good.
I'm the man with the Midas touch.
That's right. That's right.
Not.
Speaking of the Midas touch, actually, this is a cool idea. So before we start talking about failure, I want to talk to you about just a simple idea that we might be able to play around with in the future.
Okay.
And so in my hypnosis business,
Sarah, what's up, girl?
Is my sister?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Sarah. Good to see you. Look at this. Look, my sister. No beard. It's good.
She doesn't have a beard?
Shockingly enough.
That is good.
I know. So what happened is in my hypnosis business, I have a lot of people that love money mindset hypnosis. Okay. And one of my best selling sessions of all time is unquestionably the abundance session. I've sold more copies of the abundance session than any other of my hypnosis sessions, year after year after year after year after year, largely with the original sales video that we created to sell it. Okay. And I was thinking about this, and you know how we are training and teaching people how to start thinking more entrepreneurially, how to leverage, get out of trading time for money, get out of the trap where you're stuck making just one amount of money and you're stuck under the plateau and the glass ceiling. Right. And learn that's the whole income for life philosophy. Yeah. And then with the NPOD principles, you learn how to put that stuff into action and actually build an online machine that gives you that leverage that you learned about.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, my people, they really want abundance mind. They want abundance mindset stuff. They want silver bullets. They want genies and lamps, that they want magic carpets that will magically, they can close their eyes, relax, open their eyes, and feel, act, be more prosperous and abundant in their life. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I was like, well, one thing that I could do, and I've thought about pieces of this before, and this applies to what you and I are doing. It applies to what anybody is doing. Right. So you have a best-selling product. Mine happens to be the abundance session. Well, what if I did a webinar, okay, called the abundance session, and used all the same copy, or basically the same copy, to get people to opt in for the live group hypnosis event as I use in the sales video. Okay. Yeah. They opt in, and what do I give them? A free live group hypnosis session. Now, it's going to be live. So they're going to have some homework to do. But instead of positioning it as homework, I was like, oh, do you want to wait for abundance? No, you don't want to wait for abundance. You want abundance now. If you can't wait for abundance and you want to skip the wait, jump to the head of the line and go grab a copy of the abundance session to prep your brain and listen and get it trained before the live group experience. Now they go to the same video, same sales letter that's worked for years. Conversion is going to be through the roof, right? And then we can do a different call to action at the end of the live group session. Not to mention the different ways we could integrate in things like IFL and those products that are more knowledge philosophy based versus being kind of emotion and subconscious, which is what a lot of my stuff is, emotion and subconscious. But like when you're reading through IFL, I mean, it's a very conscious activity. You're learning new stuff, right? Hey, Gene, good to see you.
What's up, Gene?
So it was a way of taking a product that sells really well and wrapping a webinar or experience around that, because we already know that it works, but then shifting the direction of the flow afterward.
Yeah, no, I like it. And before we get too deep into that and off course, and I want to ask Sarah and Gene and anybody else that's just being a voyeur right now and hasn't chimed in yet, what's been your experience with why so many first-time businesses fail? What is, from your perspective, the cause? And what I mean, both of you have entrepreneurial experience and chops and have been on both sides of the fence. Why do you think, from your point of view, what's been the stumbling block for most people?
That's right. So both businesses that you've been part of launching and or failing, as well as
just observing, right?
Yeah, as well as ones that you've started yourself. Most businesses definitely fail. And
I think that's why a lot of people, look at as being in business for themselves is really risky. Like, because so many do fail. I mean, and when you put it into the online world, I mean, like you might as well multiply it by about 1 billion, because there's so many different aspects of it. That it can become overwhelming to begin with. So it's also a lot easier to start online. So, like the barrier to entry isn't as stiff as it might be offline.
That's right. That's right. Gina's a good one here. She says, not having a clear outline as to what to do first, etc. Right. Not having a clear plan. I would agree that that's a big part of it.
For sure.
But what if you have the wrong plan? What if you have a plan that doesn't work? That's like, I mean, you need a plan.
Yeah. And what if you have a plan that works extremely well for who it works extremely well for, but not necessarily for you?
or your market or your products or your industry or whatever, right? Or your personality, right?
Yeah. Jean says that she's in lots of groups where people have no idea what they need, resale license, what they need, like resale license. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Let's see. Somebody coming in from the group.
I'll look at it. I'll look who that is, and
it's probably Max or Christopher or somebody. It says, my first business failed because I didn't realize how absolutely, completely the responsibility for making it work was mine. This is a big one. When it came time to step up, I blinked and it was gone. I never made that mistake again. Dude, that's a hard one. It's a really hard one, but it's true.
But you know what? I mean, like, kudos for saying that and recognizing that was the case, right? I mean, like, that's a very different.
That's an attitude shift, right? Like that's a perspective shift.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's great that you can recognize that.
Yep.
Yeah. Juho is who said that.
Cool.
Is that the Jeep dude? No, right?
I don't think so.
Anyway, yeah, I mean that's a big one for sure.
It's huge, right? So I'll tell you. Let me give you guys an example. So a friend. We were on the phone the other day, and this friend is a knowledgeable, experienced, successful, career-driven individual, successful career, gets paid.
High-powered professional, right?
Yep, totally a professional, and works for himself, and has for many years. And he and his business partner, his new business partner, are starting a CBD company. And they're going to sell various types of CBD products, probably oils, edibles, etc. All these different things.
Let me interrupt you, Marilyn. Marilyn says people don't always understand that you have to pivot and be creative in business. You need to appeal to human nature. Talk more about that, Marilyn. I'm curious as to the depth of what prompted that behind it. It's very interesting there, and I'd like to dig a little bit deeper on that if you don't mind. Go ahead, Telman.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about his new company, and I said, "Can I ask you some questions about it? I'm curious." And he said, "Sure." They recently had got their first product samples in, and had invested quite seriously in some of the equipment for their business in the future. And
inventory, I would imagine. Like,
not yet,
but that's next on the list.
Next, right? and they were. I asked what's different about the product, and fortunately, there's a lot different about the product. And I was like, well, why would I want to, take it at all? Or why would I want to take it in comparison to all the other CBD products that are on the market? And it's obviously a highly saturated market right now. And he ended up telling me about all of the cool science about why it was a superior product because of this process and this method and this extraction process and all these things. And they had spent months and months and months working on getting the product right. And they finally got their first product samples. And then I was like, so how are you going to sell this thing? Right?
What's up, Max?
Hey, Max. And I was like, how are you going to sell this stuff? And, I had an idea for many, many different products that they were going to hit the market with. They have a really cool name. And, but I didn't ask to talk about them, so I'm not going to mention the name. And what ended up happening was I said, well, who are you going to sell this to? He's like, I have no idea. Like, how do you figure that out? I'm like, that's the first thing you figure out before you start focusing on your product, because how awesome and sciencey and cool your product is doesn't matter if you don't know what your people want.
Let's dig in, because there's some really cool stuff coming in here as well. Marilyn, so you meant like you need a compelling offer, and that's where you need to get creative? Like that's what you were referring to? Whether it's online or offline, and businesses aren't just online. It's about, yes, it's a business is a business. I totally agree. Right. And Sarah talks about, the balance between work and personal life and not having burnout. Those are all pretty important, but I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the deal breaker in the beginning. As a matter of fact, in the beginning, you almost have to be like that compulsive person to get it off the ground. Yeah. And you have to get like the buy-in from your family to understand that I will be paying you back with interest downstream.
Yeah, I'll be getting 6 hours of sleep a night for the next, year and a half. Okay. Right.
I think that's critical, Sarah, once you get up and running. I know it is for me personally, and not having that balance is why I did get burnt out and ended up shutting everything down in,
that's right.
2009 when I did. But like new businesses, like what's that big, and I think Marilyn's touching on it, like you need to have a compelling offer, whether it's online or offline. Yeah, for sure. And the creativity of that is critical to do that. But what if nobody ever sees your offer? Or what if that is only compelling to you? Or, what if, how do you know that? I mean, like in the case of your CBD guys, right? Like how much money have they invested before they have any kind of,
well, I tried to ask them, and the question was avoided, right? Which is okay. That's legit. I didn't want to pry. Yeah. But they clearly put a significant amount of their time, effort, energy, and money into probably what's an amazing product. As far as, it seems like there's a lot of it, and that's great. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. That's wonderful. In fact, it's required. The challenge is that you can't very well create a product that your people are going to absolutely go bananas over if you don't know who your people are and what they want.
Yeah.
You're shooting in the dark, and you're basing it on your own personal preferences, which means nothing to a large group of people. Nothing.
Yeah. And having, especially in this day and age, having the, not just the permission, but the influence over an audience so that they'll be willing to listen to you.
They believe you. They trust you. They want to hear what you have to say.
And not just trust, but like respect you. But and that comes downstream. But like taking it beyond that know, like, and trust. But it all starts with know, like, and trust somebody. Like at first. But like the example that I like to give is from my own past. My first follow through on entrepreneurial venture was in '97 when I wrote and self-published a book. And, but of course I wrote the entire book. I figured I could, I didn't know that I could sell it. I didn't have an audience. I didn't have a following, but I wrote the book. Then I went in and self-published it and printed it, because that was at the time when it was, like people weren't reading ebooks and
Right.
that type of thing online like it is today. And so I printed 10,000 copies. I had to raise money and print 10,000 copies. Now, luckily, I did have a plan to at least start it. But here's the plan that started it, and I ran out of money, but it started working, but it wasn't working profitably in the beginning.
Right.
And so I had to shift, and I had to find other people that had audiences. How much easier would it have been if I had built a audience first and had some influence and actually like co-created the product with them?
That's right.
And took their insights? I mean, how much more commitment would they have in that case to supporting it? So
dude, this is really good. So check it out.
Go ahead.
So I created several products online before in conjunction with other people, before I really started cooking. And one of those was the Nitro Marketing Mindset that I talked about a lot. But there are several other products that I created too, a couple of which have note. One was called Think Like Sean Casey. Another one was called Think Like Joe Vitale.
Yeah, I remember.
They were the same thing. Okay, same process. And it just so happened that I learned that, where we surveyed their list, found out the habits and skill sets and attributes and traits that the guru had that the list wanted, interviewed the guru on how they thought they did their things, and then created hypnosis sessions to program those attitudes, those beliefs, those reactions into people's lives. Now, I made a fatal error. Well, it wasn't fatal, but I made an error in the way that I did this, which is it was all based on the mind of just one guru. However, what it did was it allowed me to create a product that had a built-in audience, right? Instead of me creating a product and just trying to sell it to no one, I created a product and sold it to Nitro's list and earned a royalty. Created a product and sold it to Joe Vitale's list and earned a hefty percentage. Did the same, and so this was an incredible way to get the ball rolling and to start building my list in the early stages.
Well, and if you think about it, List Crusade was very much the same concept, right?
But there was a bunch of people involved. Exactly.
Right. And you were building an audience at the same time, and in effect, because of the way that you were doing it, it was a form of arbitrage.
Right.
It was a form of alchemy, kind of, because I mean, like you take the same subscribers that those people already have,
right,
and you put them through your system, and now they buy their products that they already were aware of, but because it was coming through the system and had a whole host of other enhancements to it, now you've got a list building machine, but not just list building, it's like value creation. You're building the influence simultaneously.
I fully agree. So guys, here's the issue. The reason that most new businesses fail so quickly, and the reason that it happens even more online, is because you don't take the time and the thought and put the effort into building your audience first. That's the reason. So they say, if you build it, they will come. They're not talking about your product.
Yeah, if you build your audience.
If you build your audience, they will come because they are your audience. That's the big secret that everybody doesn't get right. After you build your audience. Now, maybe you have ideas about the products that you want to sell. And as you're building your audience, maybe you're asking your audience about the types of products and services they're interested in and what's going to help them. And you're using their feedback in order to adjust what you're creating, whether it's an info product or a physical product or a service, whatever. But your audience comes first every single time, or you're going to rely on luck of the draw in order to really nail it and and be able to scale your business up at any degree of speed. Whether or not by the way, this is whether you're bootstrapping it, you're putting no money into your business and it's all your time and effort and energy, or whether you have a few $1 million of investment capital to sink in your business. You can screw it up either way, real quick and easy with no audience. real quick and easy.
Yeah. And it's almost impossible to screw it up long term if you focus in on building an audience, serving that audience, creating value for them. And if the first thing that you want to present to them doesn't have an appeal, doesn't matter, because you've got that relationship and you're serving them all the way through it. So, it's not a question of if something's going to work. You're going to find something that they want and they're going to tell you, right? And so that you're like, it's kind of like, almost the way that we are working with these live streams when we have really great interaction like today. That's where people are commenting back and forth, like they're telling us what, and we can help fine tune it. We can get their insights.
Well, let me illustrate this. So right now we are building our audience first. And I want to give you a practical example of how we're doing it so you can see it from behind the curtain, under the hood. So,
yeah, great idea.
Okay, so right now we have a video that we're doing. This is a live stream video. I'm in Vermont. Joshua's in Florida. We're both in front of our computers. And we are using a service called Restream. Restream.io, which can push our signal out to numerous platforms and different parts of platforms simultaneously.
Right.
So we are pushing out to a few quote unquote public places right now. And there are a lot more we can add on and will over time. And there probably are better services than Restream. Certainly there will be at some point in the future. Restream, you're awesome. No, I'm not saying anything bad about Restream. But there are different ways to do this, right? And we're pushing out to my personal Facebook, Joshua's personal Facebook, my personal YouTube, Joshua's personal YouTube, my business page, and a Facebook group called The Art of Email Marketing that you have to request to join. Okay, it's a private Facebook group that you have to request to join. On that note, if you're into email marketing and you want to get better at email marketing, you should totally join.
Yeah.
Type email marketing in the comments and shoot me a private message on Facebook, and I'll make
There's some brilliant email folk in there. I mean, like some of the best are in there all the time. So it's not just a churn and burn type group, so to speak.
That's right. It's 1,500 roughly of the smartest email marketers alive. So if you want to really, really see some interesting things, go say email marketing in the comments, and then shoot me a private message just so I make sure I see it. So we're out and we're broadcasting usually Monday through Friday. About five of these broadcasts a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, but generally we've been doing that for quite a few months now.
Yep.
So we are out there saying, hey guys, let's talk a little bit about why most businesses fail. Generally speaking, if you're not an entrepreneur, you probably aren't watching this. Or if you're not thinking about becoming an entrepreneur,
or you're not frustrated because the last 10 businesses that you tried didn't work.
That's right.
Kenneth says email marketing. Cool.
How's it going, man? Message received. So what ended up happening was you put these videos out and then you say, hey, would you like to learn more, right? Would you like to get more involved? And at that point, there are a couple different things you can do. You can do something like say, hey, if you want to join our private Facebook group, then type something special into the comments. And sure enough, Kenneth, you and I don't know each other. That happened very quickly. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes we say, hey, we're doing something cool and you can join, and like nobody says anything. So Kenneth, thanks for that. It really illustrated my point beautifully. But joins the group, and then maybe you have a link that you're sending people where they can opt into your email list, or maybe you have your group set up so that when people join your group, they put in their email and they join your email list simultaneously. There are all sorts of different ways you can do this. Point is that build your list every day. We have not tried to sell anything during this live stream, nor are we going to try to sell anything during this live stream.
Other than value, like to create value in relationships so that we can serve the people that are resonating with who we are, what we're saying. And that's not selling. That's creating, like giving people insights and helping.
Exactly.
And, that's the part that I think a lot of, particularly in the abundance, money mindset folks, they feel like selling is evil, and the way that it's done in a lot of respects is very manipulative, and it can be icky, right? I mean, it can feel awkward and icky and unnatural. We're not talking about that. We're talking about like, oh, what a novel approach, like actually help people by helping them and create value that way.
That's right.
And if you're resonating with it, great. Then we, at some point, maybe we can help you and, with something at some point. But before we can even find out whether there's something that we can help you out with from a product standpoint or a service standpoint, we have to have people in our sphere of influence that are interested in, interacting with us.
That's right.
And so like on the live stream is one aspect of it. Then the group is a deeper connection with it. And then the even bigger relationship driven is when you move them, in addition to being on the group, into your own email list so that you can communicate with them through email and multiple channels besides just on Facebook.
That's right.
It's very easy to keep them on Facebook because we're right now the primary folks that we're talking to are on Facebook. So they're comfortable subscribing to a group. They understand that, they get that. But at a certain point, if you're doing your job right, you should be building value in the group or wherever it is that you're increasing your sphere of influence and moving those people into a list. And if you're really smart and clever, you can do them both simultaneously.
You can. It's true. It's true. And so as this process unfolds, right? So you're out there, you're helping people, you're doing videos, you're building your list. Now, I'm very curious. We have a bunch of people on today, and I know you guys are in different stages of both understanding and execution when it comes to your own email marketing. Do you have Tony Stark? That was good.
Oh, that's funny.
How's it going, Steven? Good to see you. I'm assuming you're saying I don't really look anything like Tony Stark. I think you must be talking about Joshua. Look a little Starkish.
I guess. Yeah, I guess I kind of, with the beard, I kind of look a little bit like what's his face?
Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Downey Jr. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, I'm gray, man. I got old as shit.
Great. That's what I'm talking about. So how, basically, guys, if you're watching either the replay or live, whoa, what the heck? Someone just wrote us an essay.
Jack Zufelt.
Oh, all right. Let's see what Jack has to say. Cool. So the main thing here is, do you have an email list that you are able to actually mail to? Is email marketing and building your list part of your existing business right now? Just let me know, yes or no. I want to get a quick idea. And if you're just thinking about it, that's a no. If you have a bunch of business cards in a drawer somewhere, that's a no. If you have an email list with an autoresponder, you can press send and you send an email out to later today. The answer is yes, right? I'm very curious how far along you are with this. All right, Jack, since you took the time to write this thing, we can only show so much, like a sentence and a half of this. So I can't wait.
Just know that there's a huge amount of content, brilliant stuff.
All right, here we go. Here we go, Jack. Jack Zufelt, by the way, is a brilliant individual and has been creating amazing mindset training programs for many, many years. And as a matter of fact, when I first met Joshua and Nitro and we created the Nitro Marketing Mindset, Jack, your program, the DNA of Success, right, was being published by Nitro, I believe. And I was originally going to be the project manager for that. And I ended up being selected, and I ended up turning it down because I didn't want to drop the ball on that, because I realized I wouldn't be as focused on it as I should be. I don't know if I ever told you that before, Jack. Okay, so check it out. Most businesses fail due to two things, according to Jack Zufelt. One, poor management, aka ignorance. Two, undercapitalization. As a venture capitalist, I raised and invested over $20 million in many startup businesses. I focused on current cash flow and how I could dramatically improve it or dramatically increase its equity value. Almost all succeeded. Those that didn't failed because due to things out of my control, such as drastic changes in the economy, like interest rates going from 18 to 22%. That killed the buying and selling of real apartment fix-ups and selling them for a profit. The biggest property we bought was 450 units. People lost jobs, so rent wasn't being paid, so we couldn't cover the mortgage. A few MLM companies started with a big bang, and then due to poor management and or lack of funding, they went out of business. I was a very successful distributor with them. Number 1 or number 2 distributor. Made a lot of money before they shut down. Starting your own business is a risk worth taking because being your own boss gives you total freedom. And you can make a lot more money than as an employee. So work smarter, not harder. Do let the potential failure, do not let the potential of failure stop you from creating and controlling your own future. Very good line there, Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody avoids buying a car because they might get into an accident.
Great example. Yeah. Great example.
If the car you buy is totaled, you get another one. Same with business. I currently have 3 business ventures going strong. Awesome. That was great. Great. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing, Jack. All very valuable and insightful stuff as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Without a doubt. You know, it's funny because I think he's talking about like a little bit further down the pike. I mean, these are already proven business models by the time he gets a hold of them and is able to enhance the equity, enhance the cash flow, and look for underutilized. What I'm kind of referring to is like the people that spend $100,000 to set up a hair salon.
Right.
And that's before they even have to pay their rent and all of that. Or and then they're like, once they do that and they have the grand opening and they wait for people to come in the door. You know, the people that are awesome cooks, that are awesome chefs, so they decide to open a restaurant, and that doesn't mean that they're able to manage, and that speaks to poor management for sure. But it also, I mean, like if they manage to scrape together the capitalization, they don't put anything aside in the beginning for marketing, for attracting clients in and for building that audience that's going to come in the door.
I just realized something that I always found kind of obnoxious in the past, but I just put it together, which is not that confusing, but whatever. Took me a while. So speaking of restaurants or salons and just starting one up and crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, you know, when you're buying into like a franchise, like a fast food restaurant, how expensive that can be, especially if it's a well-known one.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in investment in capital that you need in order to buy in. And you're like, well, I'm buying into the name, I'm buying into the brand, I'm buying into, you know, they already have the product.
You're buying into the proven model.
You are buying into the proven model, and it seems so simplistic. It seems so cookie cutter. It seems so just following the directions. But one of the biggest things about franchises that are successful is location. And the old saying in business is location, location, location. Well, what the hell does that actually mean? What it means is, what is the demographic of the people that are going to be driving by that Dunkin' Donuts? Well, if the right number of people and they make the right amount of money and they're going to be driving through at the right time of day, that's called audience first. You got your audience. Boom. They're right there. They're driving by and they need their coffee and their donut fix. Great.
You know, it's funny. This is probably cliche by now, but I'm going to say it anyway. And you know, it just proves the point. But before I do, Jack's talking about, proper and powerful marketing is the most important part of it. I could not agree more. And that has to do, you know, good marketing is about communication. It's about, you know, communicating value and insights and showing people, you know, what you've got and what it can do for them and how it's valuable. So I could not agree more. Particularly in the early stages, it's so critical because most people leave that for last.
That's right.
And they know it's important, but they leave it for last. And they're like, well, you know, like, let me get all this other stuff done, and then I'm going to figure out my market or who to talk to about it. And that's tough, man, because then it is a crapshoot. But the story about McDonald's franchise in the very beginning, like the reason why they could command a $1 million plus price tag is back in the day. I don't know if these stats still hold true, but less than 1%, maybe as high as 2% of a franchise ever failed in McDonald's. So like it was guaranteed that if you buy it and you get on the waiting list and you go to Hamburger University to be able to learn how to run it and everything, literally, I mean, like all of that. But the funny thing is that, you know, in addition to all of this, McDonald's, you know, they have everything systemized. There's no guesswork. There's no thinking. There's zero creativity involved because they've got you just have to plug and play. Matter of fact, you get in trouble if you get creative because you have to sign their agreements. And a big part of that in the beginning was they did all these feasibility studies to determine what areas to put their McDonald's in for when they were putting up a franchise for sale, because of things like the customer clientele, the traffic, that would be there, that would be the right people that would enjoy the McDonald's type product. And they would spend millions of dollars on these feasibility studies to figure out where these locations were. And along comes Burger King, and their strategy was, well, I'm just going to open up wherever McDonald's is. Right. I'm going to open up across the street. Right. Because they've done the work. They know where it is. And I'm going to guess that, people don't want McDonald's 5, 6, 7 days a week. They want choices. Variation. And boom. Brilliant. So they save all that time but it's the same process, right? I mean, but they figured out where to find their audience. Right. And then they just, so I mean, like that's the it's the exact same thing here. Like, I mean, we could apply that to you, Telman, that whole, your Burger King, when you started your I
don't know if I like this association. I don't know where this is going.
No, from the brilliant side of it, from the smart side of it. Like, I mean, you didn't have to build all your lists, right? To start with, you didn't have to build. You interviewed people and you built List Crusade by bringing those people together and by enhancing the value that those subscribers got and helping the people that were helping you. But you were in essence, you weren't looking to set up a McDonald's where all of those people were. You were looking for the McDonald's, all of these little McDonald's that were already set up, and you set up your Burger King that allowed you to feed off of the same, and it was a symbiotic. And in this case, you were actually helping McDonald's in addition to them helping you.
Yep. Yeah.
Thanks, Jack.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it was interesting while you were talking about franchises and success rate. Jack says that's why franchises have such a high success rate. About 80%. That's because they have a proven system. I bought franchises.
Gene says your new nickname is BK. That's right. You're the king.
That's right.
Doesn't the king have a beard too?
It probably does. I don't even like fast food, but whatever. I'll take it, I guess. BK. It's funny.
I'll tell you what. Give me a choice over McDonald's or BK, and I'm taking a Whopper every single time. Personally, it's been forever since I've had a Whopper, but
a Whopper. That's funny.
I like me some BK.
Nice. So we're talking a little bit about lists and building your audience first. So guys, whether you need to build your audience now for a new business, whether you are like, oh, I spent way too long focusing on my product and now I really need to focus on building my audience, or even if you already have a list and you already have an audience, but you're not putting the juice into it that you should be, meaning it's not growing at a rapid rate on a daily basis.
Or it's not responsive anymore.
That's right. Jack says, I love Chick-fil-A.
My daughter loves Chick-fil-A, Jack.
On that note, that's funny. I'm so glad we're talking about fast food right now.
I know it's against your religion, but hey.
It is.
Such is life.
That's right. So if you guys want to build your audience and build it faster, if that's something that is appealing to you, as appealing as Chick-fil-A, then I have a couple spots on my calendar. If you want to go get on the phone and talk through the process that it might look like for you to really get your audience building into high gear so that you can have that large group of people who are hungry, ready, willing, and able, and want to buy the products and services that you're creating and releasing in the future or selling for other people. Then you want to go to letstalkprivately.com, right on cue. www, let's get rid of Chick-fil-A, letstalkprivately.com. And I have a handful of spots this week on my calendar that you can first come, first serve. So we can book an hour of time, and I'll ask you a couple questions about your business. Please be sure to answer them before the call so I'm not flying blind when you book it. And
depending on what you're looking to accomplish, then we can figure that out. Like, whether it's to re-energize a dead list, or whether it's to build the current list faster, or whether it's to build a new income stream from a new sphere of influence in people. Yep.
Maybe you're starting a new business.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate that. That's awesome, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Jack. Very cool. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, I think that's about it for today. Thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Kenneth, Stephen, Marilyn, Max.
What was the John Boy? Good night, John Boy. Good night.
Good night, John Boy. Rock and roll. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Later, dudes.
Toodaloo.
And dudettes.
Oh, hey, Anthony, what's going on? We're heading out. Yeah, don't worry. The replay.
It's a good one, man. Like watch it. I mean, but I'm biased, but I think you'll enjoy it.
We talk a lot about fast food. What's your favorite? All right, everybody.
See ya. Woo-hoo.